What else?
Your guy last night drives it against Jokic. Jokic makes zero contact with him. LeBron makes the layup. Okay, no foul called. And then he falls to the ground, writhing in pain. The problem, of course, with the faker is that he wasn't sure which arm to grab, about which arm was hurt.
LeBron James drove to the basket, made the layup, heard no whistle, and then hit the floor like someone had shot him from the parking lot.
A big roll, 16 points. James gets inside for the deuce, and he lands awkwardly.
The issue seemed to be that he couldn't tell which arm was actually supposed to be injured, so he ended up grabbing both. The entire arena was watching, and many didn't seem convinced. Still, he continues to approach each game in the same way night after night. At this point in his career, it raises the question: is LeBron's flopping an ingrained habit that's hard to break, or a deliberate tactic used to draw calls? What's your take? Let us know in the comments.
So he goes to the ground, no foul called, but the bucket counted. By the way, they lost to the Nuggets because they always lose to the Nuggets, right?
Nuggets are better.
Yeah, they are better.
Nuggets are better.
And your guy's now writhing on the floor in pain. He grabs his right elbow, and then he's like, maybe it wasn't that one. So then he grabs his left elbow, and then it wasn't that one. So then one of the guys comes over to try to help him up. He yells, "Oh, my elbow!"
Let's set the scene. LeBron James drives to the basket against Nikola Jokic. He gets all the way to the rim and finishes the layup. There's no contact from Jokic, none at all. Not a brush, not a bump, not even a hint of interference. No foul is called, because there simply wasn't one to call. Then LeBron James, 40 years old, four-time champion, and widely regarded as one of the greatest to ever play the game, goes to the floor and starts reacting as if he just took a heavy hit to the body. To be fair, players have been selling contact for years. It's part of basketball, and it's nothing new. Frustrating at times, sure, but hardly a surprise at this point.
I don't know where he got hurt to the point that caused this reaction. I think he faking, bro. I just called it. I called it. He reached for one arm and then reached for the other arm, so he just grabbed both of them. He didn't know which one to play it off with, so he grabbed both of them. Look at him.
Except here's where it gets almost unintentionally theatrical. LeBron goes down, reaches for his right elbow, and holds it for a moment. Then, almost as if reconsidering, he shifts. Maybe it wasn't that one. So he grabs the left elbow instead. That's the one. Or maybe not. Before long, both arms are somehow part of the reaction, as the moment turns into something more confusing than convincing. A teammate comes over to help him up, and LeBron calls out with full intensity, "My elbow." And at that point, the question kind of writes itself. Which elbow, exactly?
And they take him to the bench, and no one's paying him any mind, of course, because everyone knows he's faking.
Nothing.
And then he comes right back on the court like 10 seconds later.
Oh, thank God he's all right.
Yeah. Oh!
You know, I was definitely worried about LeBron.
Yo, it's so comical now that he don't even try to hide it. Yo, flopping on the ground like a flounder. Yo, not sure which arm to grab, so he grabs both of them. Does that, can't get up. Oh, my elbow.
Then is helped over to the bench, where the training staff briefly checks on him. The broadcast moves on. The crowd is left to process what just happened, and within about 10 seconds, give or take, the moment is already becoming highlight fodder and debate material. Not long after, LeBron is back on the floor, seemingly fine again after what looked like a sudden elbow scare that had him down moments earlier. As for the game itself, the Los Angeles Lakers ended up losing to the Denver Nuggets, another result that, for better or worse, has become a familiar storyline in this matchup.
Lakers end up the 6th seed, and Denver ends up the 3. Then they get Denver in the first round again. They're going home. They're not beating the Denver Nuggets. I can assure you that. They're not beating the Denver Nuggets. I don't care what anybody says, okay?
The matchup between the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Lakers over recent seasons has developed a pretty simple storyline. Denver usually finds a way to win. Not every time, but often enough that it starts to feel less like coincidence and more like a consistent edge. In those meetings, the Nuggets have generally looked like the more complete team, with Nikola Jokic often being the defining force.
This is your king. This is your GOAT. A dude that is so desperate for attention. A dude that is so desperate to be noticed that he pretends to be hurt. he can't get back on defense after a made shot because he fell on his arm and got a boo-boo? And I struggle to say LeBron James got a boo-boo because all he did was softly fall to the ground.
Here's the thing about the way people talk about LeBron James and foul drawing moments that makes it so divisive. It's not really just about one play. It's about perception, reputation, and the fact that at this stage of his career, every small moment carries a much bigger meaning. From one perspective, it doesn't even feel like something he needs to do. And that's exactly why it becomes such a talking point. This is a player with 4 championships, one of the most accomplished careers in NBA history, and a legacy that is already secure. He holds the all-time scoring record, ranks among the best in assists, and has maintained an extraordinary level of performance across an unmatched span of years. Very few athletes in any sport have ever sustained that kind of dominance for that long. So when moments like this happen, where a possession ends with a dramatic reaction or confusion about contact, it doesn't just get treated as a normal part of basketball. It stands out. It gets replayed again, and then turned into a debate. And that debate around LeBron James and foul selling isn't new. It has followed him for much of his career, and it always comes with familiar arguments from both sides. Supporters point out that his size, strength, and style of play lead to constant physical contact. When you drive that aggressively and that often, you're going to absorb hits that don't always get called. They argue that superstars sometimes have to exaggerate contact just to get fair whistle recognition, especially when officials adjust how they call games based on reputation. Others argue differently. They say that while contact is part of the game, there are moments where reactions go beyond what the contact actually looked like, and that this creates frustration for fans and even opponents. They also point out that every superstar in NBA history has had to deal with physical defense, but not every superstar has generated the same level of scrutiny for how they respond to it. And the truth is, both sides have some logic to them. But neither side ever fully settles the argument, because it's not just about logic. It's about interpretation in real time. But that's why these moments never stay small. They don't remain just a missed call or a reaction on the floor. They turn into clips, discussions, and narratives that extend far beyond the game itself. And when those moments happen in a matchup like Lakers versus Nuggets, the reaction only gets amplified by the result. That in this case, the Los Angeles Lakers ended up on the losing side again. And in games like that, every possession is re-examined through the final score. The Denver Nuggets, meanwhile, continue to look like a team that has found a very specific formula for controlling these matchups. The center of that is Nikola Jokic, one of the most unique players in the league. His style is almost the opposite of what people associate with dramatic basketball moments. He plays at his own pace, makes decisions early, absorbs contact without much reaction, and lets execution define the outcome. There's very little theatrics in how he plays, which makes the contrast even more noticeable when these teams meet. That contrast is part of why Nuggets, Lakers games have developed such a clear identity in recent years. It's not just about talent, it's about style, rhythm, and how differently both teams approach pressure situations. But zooming out from this matchup, the NBA conversation isn't only about established superstars anymore. There's a growing shift happening across the league, driven by a new generation of players who are starting to reshape expectations. One of the biggest emerging storylines is the Rookie of the Year race, where unexpected names have started to change the direction of the conversation. A player like Carmen Malawak has quietly moved into that spotlight after being overlooked early in the season. Coming into the league as a 4th overall pick, he was initially part of a draft conversation dominated by Cooper Flagg, who carried most of the attention from the start. Flagg's rookie season has still been impressive in its own right. Producing at a high level as an 18-year-old in the NBA is never something to dismiss, especially considering the pressure that comes with being a top pick and the lack of consistent support around him at times. But what has changed the conversation is consistency in team success. Malawak's impact has grown steadily, and as his role expanded, so did his team's performance. A stretch of dominant wins, unexpected by almost every preseason projection, has pushed him firmly into the Rookie of the Year spotlight. This is where the NBA narrative often shifts. Early expectations define the story at first, but over time, performance usually reshapes everything. The players who were initially overlooked begin to force their way into the conversation simply by producing results that can't be ignored. That's exactly what's happening here. Brandon Miller's development and LaMelo Ball's creativity have also played a major role in the team's rise, but Malawak has become the central piece in how their season is now being defined. And this brings the bigger NBA picture into focus. That on one side, you have established legends like LeBron James, whose careers are now viewed through both accomplishment and interpretation. Every moment is no longer just part of a game, it's part of a legacy discussion. Every reaction is magnified, every sequence analyzed not just for what happened, but for what it represents. That on the other side, you have a new wave of players whose identities are still forming in real time. Players like Victor Wembanyama and others entering the league are being evaluated more on skill, production, and potential than on narrative baggage. There's less historical weight attached to their every move. That creates an interesting overlap in the NBA right now. Two eras existing at the same time. One still defining its legacy, and another just beginning to build it. And that's what makes this moment in basketball so unique. LeBron James remains one of the greatest to ever play the game. That part of the story is already written. But every season now adds new interpretations of how that story is remembered in real time. Meanwhile, younger players are stepping into a league where their identity is being shaped more by performance than perception. That in the end, that's what the NBA always comes back to. Not just individual plays, but how those plays become part of something larger. How reputations form, how debates start, and how quickly a single moment can turn into a narrative that lasts far longer than the game itself. The league is always moving between past and future, legacy and emergence, history and possibility, and right now, both are happening at the same